Just to recap the Illinois game, I was proud of our guys, again, that we were able to go on the road, and again, against a good football team, and find a way to pull out the victory. I thought there were some real positives in there. Obviously, I thought our offensive line had one of their better performances that I can remember in quite some time. Bishop Sankey was tremendous. You go back and watch the film, and just some of the runs he had, and then his ability to have an effect in the passing game, and not just catching the ball, but in protection. I thought he was tremendous as well. Really, I didn't notice sometimes during the game, you just see the stats. I thought Josh Shirley had an impact rushing the passer. I thought that a lot of our guys up front made it uncomfortable for a kid coming into the game. Was completing 75% of his passes for 400-something yards a game, to hold him to, I think it was 9 of 25 for 150 yards, and 75 of those came on one play that we all wish we could have back. So I thought that was a real positive. The beauty of it for us was coming out of it, there's plenty to work on, and that's the great part about being in a season and having a team and learning to progress and get better from week in and week out. Myself included, obviously, the red zone efficiency is not where we want to be and need to be. So we'll continue to work on that. Some of the penalty issues that I think we can really clean up this week, which we started on today. And then minimizing the big play. We did such a good job in the Boise game of, facing 88 plays and only giving up 2 explosive plays. Contrastly, this week against Illinois, we only faced, I think it was 62 plays, but they had 10 explosive plays in the game. So our ability to keep the ball in front of us and make teams work to drive it down the field will be important. But all in all, I thought it was a solid performance for a team, but still with areas for plenty of improvement.
Steve, can you talk maybe more in depth about the red zone challenges and just kind of what's keeping you guys from maximizing?
Yeah, obviously we had 4 trips this ball game in the red zone, and we scored 2 touchdowns and settled for 2 field goals. The first trip down, we had hit Kaysen on a deep ball there, and I think Kaysen or Kevin, I can't remember exactly. He got the ball down there, and it was a player, the 3 plays really that we called were really trying to go to our primary red zone targets. And I give credit to Illinois, and they coach too, and they have good players too. They did a nice job of trying to defend our red zone targets. And obviously, it's pretty safe to say Kaysen and Austin are good red zone weapons for us. And they did a good job of pushing coverage their way and forcing the ball to go to different places. As they did in other trips down, where we ended up throwing the ball to Jadon, and Jadon broke the tackle for a touchdown as well there. So that first trip was that way. The second one, it was an interesting trip in the red zone because we knew how important the 3 points were late in the game to make it a 2-score game. And on the third down play, we thought we had a good play for Kaysen dialed up. Keith obviously knew how important the field goal was there as well, and came off of Kaysen maybe a little bit too quick. I think he'd like to have it back and check the ball down to Jesse. And we got the 3 points to make it a 10-point game. So, I'm not overly I'm not hitting the panic button about us in the red zone. I think we have plenty of good weapons. I think we have good schemes. It's just finding the right rhythm of the game of when we're calling, what we're calling, and making sure that the timing is there and in the right place with the receivers and the quarterback, and then how the running game ties into that. And, I felt a little bit like, we were just a tiny bit off, and it's funny, Kaysen came up to me and he goes, gosh, I wish I could have ran a couple of these routes a little bit better here to there. So it's being early in the season. It's not quite being exactly on the same page yet, and myself, the quarterback, everybody there. So we need to work through it. We need to, it'll be a point of emphasis for us this week in practice, because we can't continually, go into a ball game and come out going 2 for 4 with touchdowns when you have a chance to score 28 points, and you only walk away with 20 when you're in the red zone. That's disappointing. And so part of the positive is we haven't had any turnovers in the red zone, which was something that was a point of emphasis for ours coming into the season. We had turned the ball over so much in the red zone last year that I thought had a really negative effect on not just that drive, but on the overall flow of the game. So we're taking care of the football better. Now we need to make sure we're still aggressive in scoring touchdowns and not settling for field goals. So there's a real gray area there, and a fine line of a balancing act of being able to do both of those two things. It starts with the play calls to the quarterback and everybody else involved.
Talk about what Jesse did out there and how you look at that now.
That was awesome, man. I was really happy for Jesse. It's funny, I had a chance to reflect about it on the flight home. You think about a guy who's going into last season as our starting tailback. First drive of the season against San Diego State in the red zone. He's about to score a touchdown, makes a cut, and tears his ACL. And it's a year later, he finds his way back, gets thrown into the action probably a little bit more than he was anticipating, and two huge plays. I mean, the touchdown run he has on 3rd and 7, we don't block the defensive end. He absolutely makes the defensive end miss. Then he makes the safety miss at about 7 yards, and then makes the second safety miss there inside the 10. It was just a tremendous individual effort by Jesse. And then the screenplay is probably the other most critical play in the game to get us in the field goal range around the other 3rd and long. That stuff is easy to see. What not a lot of people see is what he does for us on special teams. He's just got a great energy about himself, and I'm happy for Jesse. As much as we talked about all the other ACL guys coming off injuries, I'm happy for Jesse because of where he was a year ago on our roster as the go-to guy, what Bishop's done, and then him to have that opportunity and to perform the way he did was pretty cool.
So with that in mind, and then also take into account what happened with Dwayne, how does that really put the running back mix going this week?
It's great competition. Dwayne Washington's going to be fine. I can remember sitting in front of you guys after the Nebraska game a few years ago when Bishop dropped a kickoff and put the ball on the 1 yard line, and the sky wasn't falling on Bishop either then. He was going to be fine. And we have a lot of confidence in our young players. We continually try to build them up, and we'll continually build up Dwayne. He's going to be a good football player for us. And it was unfortunate. There were two very close bang-bang plays where I almost still think his knee was down on the first one, but hey, and the second one he really got bent back pretty well and bent back on his right knee, and I think he got a little bit scared, like I probably we all would, and just kind of panicked and let go of the ball. So he'll be okay. I just felt like at that junction of the game, I didn't feel like it had been fair to him to put him back in there to carry the ball, and that's why Jesse got more of those carries, and Bishop got more of those carries, and that was probably 35 carries is not the number we want for Bishop Sankey every week. That's too many carries for him over the longevity of the season. So we'll continue to spread those things out, and hopefully we can continue to bring Deontay